Romieux.
Australia.
It's
And you know, we're going to speak about Château Miraval. Today is a masterclass about this. Why Château Miraval? Of course, it's very well known because who you know, it's a bit like Harry Potter. You never say the name, you say who you know, so the one we never have to say the name. So the Brangelinas, which is a contraction with Brad and Angeline. I visited there when it was before they bought, because now it's much more complicated. And they didn't buy only a beautiful place, they bought a lovely vineyard and what I consider to be the greatest domain in Provence. And not just when they bought it, but since the beginning of the 21st century, I think let's say in 2000, 2002, it became the greatest. Why? You are going to ask me the question, so I'm going to answer you. This domain, that's a little bit of history, but, well, let's not speak too much. Drink a little, and then I explain the rest of the thing. So, Miraval why is Miraval so famous? Because when you smell this wine, you've got lovely aromatic hints on the nose. You've got something next to white strawberries, something like this, peach, melon. Yes, it's a lovely bouquet. We say in French bouquet. I think the word is also used in English to design it. And it's not only the nose that is great, it's also the mouth, because when you drink this wine, you have what we call the freshness. The freshness is a wine like this, with the weather we have here, could be fat, you know, lack punch, but it's not. Why? Because Miraval is situated on a place which is 350 meters high. So it gives rather fresh nights, and the difference between night and day are very important, but it has a very good effect. It preserves the freshness of the grapes. So that's why the wine are not too heavy, not too fat. They are very well balanced. Because in fact he was a classical musician, but he had the feeling that he had to do something very different than the other, and he did. He made adaptations of Johann Sebastian Bach and played it with jazz, in a jazz way. So it was, he made a record that was very famous, which was named Jacques Lussier Plays Bach. Okay. And in fact, it was the things of Jacques Lussier adaptation of the music. Well, that for the fun. But he was famous, and he was a great musician, and he bought his domain. Unfortunately, he didn't understand anything to the wine. Pity for him. And so he tried to do things, but it was not very good. Not good at all, I would say. He had a very poor reputation. But he was a very nice musician. And he didn't know that the terroir he had was fantastic. So he did what he did the best, was making music. And he created a recording studio in Miraval, one of the most famous in the world, in which some very, very famous musicians came to record. And the most famous of them was the Pink Floyd. They recorded The Wall in Miraval. And if you see the jacket of the record, it's written, recorded at Château Miraval, Le Val, France. And I know people who have been there when they recorded, and they told me a lot of things about this period. It was in 1976, 77. Okay. And so, in legacy, in memory of that time, they called this cuvée Pink Floyd. That's the real origin of this name. Now we're going to see the white wines from Miraval, Château Miraval. These white wines are those I consider to be the best in Provence. I've tasted a lot from all the chateaux, and I've never seen a wine which could have such a freshness, such aromatic, and be able to age and improve when they age. Most of the time, when you have white wines in Provence, they are nicely made, rather easy to drink, not a lot of personality, very few. And moreover, they never age. Well, they're wines to be drank or that's surely why in Provence the production of the white wine is 3.5% of the total amount. More than 80% is produced for the rosé, and around 15% for the red. And surely it gets lower now because the rosé has such a success and it's so easy to make that most people prefer making rosé. So it's rare to have a nice production for the white wine, and Miraval is something very special. I think there is a soil in between Laval and Corrence. It's not I think, it has been proved. Something very special, you know, which is the perfect place to plant grapes to make white wine. Because it gives an expression that you can't have anywhere else. And I know that the French administration, which is called INAO, which is Institut National des Appellations d'Origine, which is the highest administration for the laws, for the grapes, for the wines and so on, wants to create something on this area to reveal to people how special this place can be here. So they're working on this. I don't know if they will succeed in doing it. But anyway, I think the best thing to do now is to taste one of the three cuvées the Domaine de Miraval makes. So this one is called Clara Lua. It's a Coteau Varois. Coteau Varois is the other name, is the other appellation, which is similar to Côte de Provence. It has not a real meaning, just for exportation, because you don't see Provence, and yes, now they can make Coteau Varois en Provence. So it's something very good for exportation. But it doesn't affect the quality, in fact, it's just a name. And Coteau Varois and the Côte de Provence are both produced by the Château Miraval, which is a domain. It's not that big. In fact, they have, let's say, 35 hectares in production for the wine. And the line that separates Côte de Provence and Coteau Varois goes in the middle of, well, so here it's Coteau Varois, here it's Côte de Provence. So, well, okay. There are other laws for the yards, for the grapes, but in fact it's the same soil, let's say. So, with that challenge, how could they make a difference between the two cuvées? We're going to see that for the Coteau Varois, so the Clara Lua cuvée, they have 95% of Rolle or Vermentino. It's another name, but that's the same grape. Rolle or Vermentino are the same. And 5% of Grenache Blanc, white Grenache. Whereas for the other cuvée Terre Blanche, it's 100% Rolle. So 100% against 95, there's no real difference. The main difference is in the winemaking and the harvesting. This is a classical harvest. I mean, they wait for the perfect maturity and they pick the grape. The grapes are picked by men and not by machine. And then they vinify in tanks. and it's got a long élevage in tanks too. So there's no wood in that cuvée. The wine is pure. The wine is mineral, a little crystalline. It has always this feeling that it's like something long, you know, and straight and pure. Whereas for the Terre Blanche, we're going to taste later on, it's a bit different. The harvest is not at the same time. They calculate a degree of over-ripeness, and when it has reached, then they pick the harvest. So the difference of harvest between the two are between 10 and 15 days, depending on the year. So in this period, the wine concentrates, aromas are becoming a little exotic because it's over-ripeness, the acidity is lowering, and moreover, when they after harvesting, they vinify 30% in barrels, not New York, some are New York, and 17 tanks. And the élevage is the same. So it means that the wine of Terre Blanche is a little oaky, and it has aromas which are becoming a little exotic because of the over-ripeness. It's fatter in the mouth, and you now, stop talking, you're going to drink it and appreciate it the way it has to be. Well, we spoke about Jacques Loussier, who was a great musician but a very bad winemaker, and the domain has been bought by an American guy whose name is Tom Bove. And Tom Bove was passionate upon wines, and he decided, and he saw he could do something very, very special.
No, sorry.
And he made an association with a man that I consider an extraordinary winemaker, who is Emmanuel Grosjean. And together they decided how to plant, how to make the élevage, how to make the wines. And soon this domain became the great domain it is. And this has changed in 2012. In 2012, they stopped working with the ancient team, and they made a partnership with the Perrin family, which is very, very famous in the Rhone Valley. That's not for you, honey. So the Perrin family in the Rhone Valley owns a fantastic vineyard and a Château de Beaucastel, which is one of the greatest. And since that day, Perrin, Marc Perrin, the man who makes the wine, comes and vinifies and gives instruction. But it's a very intelligent, I think, association, because Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie are very happy with the wine. They love it. And so they discuss of the way to proceed and how to make it and things they would like it to be and so on. So, well, that to answer your question. Very cute, that makes the aromas explode, you know? And drink it and feel it. At the end, you've got something very, very cute on the top. Push the wine.
It's a question of style. Now, Didier, why did you like the second one more?
I prefer the fatness and the roundness and the greater expression in aromas.
I can see that.
And that's what I like in the second. For me, it's more complex.
Yeah, it is.
But
And you feel this one, the second one, on your tongue more. You feel a sensation
yes,
on the tongue.
It's longer, much longer.
Yeah. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Longer?
yeah.
It's longer. Thanks, right?
Very perceptive.
Oh, but it's really
there are
different.
fans of the first and fans of the second.
Totally
And
different.
This is, it's a question of style.
Exactly.
No.
It's very nice.
Det er altså mat, den. Ja, ja. But I have to admit, it did grew on me now. Like
Yes, me too.
after
Me
a
too.
while now, it started
Yes.
to, you know.
And
Yes.
that's why I told you you never have to drink the wine too cold.
No.
You see, at the beginning it was colder, and now it's evolving, and all
Yes.
the great white wine should be served around 15, 16 degrees. That's the way they are the best. And
Yes.
even for Burgundies,
Yes.
you never have to serve a cold wine,
Yes.
because the expression is at the maximum at
It makes it cold. Very cold.
You remember our discussion last
We are
night?
14 degrees.
Almost.
You're 18.
Well, they're only 4 years. They're not absolutely mature. So we're going to taste something older, so that you see the evolution and the way and the different expressions the wines give. So there will be the two same cuvées, but the vintage will be 07.
Oh, 7.
Yes.
Wow.
There's something slightly different.
Oh, yeah.
It's not named Clararua, because Clararua is a little daughter of Tombo, and she was born in 08. So before she was born, the Château Miraval had no name, no special name, and now it has.
But did they pick the grapes before?
And yet, but it says 07 on the bottle.
Yeah, that's why I
07.
That's what hasn't got that name on it.
This one, this is the same cuvée,
Yeah.
Château Miraval.
Yeah.
And this one is 07, this one is 11.
Yes.
There's an additional thing here.
Ah.
Clararua.
Oh, so
No,
that's,
I see
that's where
that.
the name came from.
I see that now. I
Okay.
see that. Yeah. Sorry. Yes.
Thiol. It's a little like if it were pine essence. Something a bit like this.
Cognac.
And it's
Yeah.
some people don't like it. I'm very fond of it.
You can really taste the difference, don't you?
Yes.
When
It
the-
tastes
Does that mean you can, you can also get a sense it's more alcohol?
Yeah, you can sense the alcohol. Yeah.
druene sin samme.
Yeah, there's something,
Yeah.
a bit of bite in there.
Yeah.
14%.
14% the same, and yet you get the sense of more alcohol.
So it's 14.
I know what you mean. That's the spicy notes.
Yeah.
The spicy notes sometimes in
Also,
no, it's
good
a
dog,
little more bourbon. I think. Yes. It's
Just get
it's
me on video and I'll do it.
it's the evolution of the grape and of the soil that gives this. We also have this kind of thing with some whiskey, which are made in I don't know, Trope. Trope.
Ja.
Peat or turf.
Peat, okay.
Peat.
Yeah, yeah.
There was some whiskey.
Yes.
It's a little hint of this.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
very special.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely.
Thank you.
And I got 2 girls, so what ages are they? 5 and 10.
5 and 10. We have 2 little bambinos too, 37 and 40.
The aromas you had, the very special aromas that you have in Boss, are less acute in this one and more melted with the material. Do you understand what I mean?
Yes, we do.
Yeah. Yes, well, it's not as strong as the
I
previous
think this one was better than the other one because it's rounder again.
Yes. It's already
So
fatter. in the
yeah, so
mouth
it gets a
rather-
little bit of sweetness to it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because of the difference of harvest. And for the 15 degrees. One more than the other.
Oh,
Oh, you want with tubs?
I think he will die. I get a headache from everything. I get sick from red.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so he will taste for
More
me.
than that.
You can have the white. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. No, it's starting 2 years ago.
And that might have been because you had a little too much.
No,
No?
I even tasted many times with just 1 glass.
We're going to taste the red from Miraval. Miraval makes 2 cuvées for the red. Oh, just before closing.
With his chin.
I have to speak about the other cuvée of white wines.
Video.
They also make a third cuvée, which is called Lady Jane. That's the top cuvée from them. Lady Jane is made just like Terre Blanche, with old vines only, and 100% new oak barrels, vinification and élevage. So it means the wine is much more spicy in the mouth because of the oak. It's fatter because of the old vines and the woods. And well, it's a kind of legendary cuvée, but I think the greater balance in all the wine from Miraval is given by these two. Most of the wines that are made from Roll or Vermentino, that's the same word for the same grape. Roll and Vermentino give flesh to the wine, aromas. It's a good grape. It's not a top grape. It's a good grape, and it makes good adaptation with the climate here. But for the red, most of the major grapes are used. I mean, you can find Syrah, Cabernet, Grenache, Cinsault, Mourvèdre, Carignan, and more. So, depending on the grape you use, you have totally different styles of wine. And depending on the good combination between grape and the soil, you have more or less expressions that are worth drinking. And unfortunately, I'm afraid. No, I'm not afraid. I can say there's no grand terroir in Provence. No. Maybe in Vendôme there are some nice places, but in Côte de Provence there is no grand terroir. No, no one. I don't know any of them. I'm the only one to have it. Okay. It has just been issued 10 days ago.
Ah,
Yes.
Ah,
Vintage
congratulations.
13, yes.
Ah.
It's a ham.
Woo.
Vintage 13.
Bingo.
You see the shape of the bottle has changed. It's the same as this one. It's a new bottle since vintage 12.
10 days ago.
And so all the other we had were before vintage 12, so that's why we have ancient bottles. The other cuvée from Red, we had 60% Syrah, 40% Cabernet Sauvignon. It was always this one.
I think so.
But the Perrin family very cleverly thought that, in fact, the Cabernet Sauvignon is not a grape for Provence. It's not nice. They never make great wine, in fact. So they decided they would make another wine with another style. And so now the blend is totally different. It's Syrah, Grenache, and Cinsault. Cinsault is a grape with which we used to make rosé with. It gives the finesse, not the body, the finesse. Syrah makes the structure, Grenache makes the fruit, and well, it's not exactly this, but well, we can say this. And Cinsault gives the finesse. So this is the new cuvée made by Perrin, which is absolutely spectacular because you will see the smoothness in the mouth. The tannins are so melted, so well worked. The wine is powerful, but never disturbing, you know?
So,
Stop speaking. Let's
so
drink.
Didier, how come you are the first to have it?
Because I know them very well, and I was told to wait for vintage 13, which was better than 12. And so when others said, wait a little, 13 will soon come.
Okay. How it can happen that they totally change the grapes? In the combination you told before,
Yes.
there was Shiraz and Cabernet.
Well,
and now they have two different or three different ones.
there was already some Grenache they could use for I don't know what, you know, on the main. Maybe they made some surgreffage. I don't know Sauvetage means you imagine you have a grape of Cabernet, and you over, I don't know the exact word, it's very technical, and you plant on it another grape.
You graft.
Yes,
Graft.
yeah.
Yeah, but
And so you see the difference.
Very rich colour.
The only way
Yes.
to use old
It's a young
trays
wine.
to make
but then you have
But
to
you see,
at least 2 years.
you will see how small
Can't
it
get
is.
it in the same year.
No, no.
Yeah, you can get it.
Smell it. It's already, well, you should smell it.
Ja.
It's soft on the nose.
Litt sånn
It's complex and soft.
Ja.
Men det var nivåen på den plassen.
It's not bad. Because then it's young, quite young wine, isn't it?
Yes, it's young, but for a young wine, it's so drinkable. It's powerful. It's very rich. But the tannins are so mature, so well worked that you don't feel.
No.
It's absolutely balanced. It's nice. It's round. It's a pleasure. To me, it's a pleasure to drink that kind of wine. Imagine that you drink any wine from vintage 13. Most of the time, it's a bit harsh, you know, when you swallow it. You say, well, you have to wait it. But here is that's the hint of the Greekness.
Yeah.
When the Greek winemakers always make wines like this, with the softness that gives them, that makes them quite approachable. And that's a sign of the greatness. And the Perrin family is very, very known for that. In Châteauneuf-du-Pape they achieved the Château Miraval with a lot of, it's one of the greatest Châteauneuf-du-Pape. And the methods they have, they employ them to make this kind of thing. That's why they're so round, so successful.
Clear the palate.
Years, but I'm not convinced it's worth letting it age,
Okay.
you know, because
It's very nice now. Yeah.
it's nicely made and it gives, but today it gives everything. I don't feel things that are hidden and that should be improved by the long cellaring or medium cellaring, let's say.
Yeah.
It will evolve, of course, but it's in Cabernet Sauvignon. And it's called Playback, in memory of Jacques Lussier, who made us
Playback.
Playback.
Nice touch.
And it's the one I really love.
I like Eric.
For me, it has more complexity.
Just a little.
More complexity than the other one, which is absolutely lovely now. But these are the wines which are worth cellaring, whereas the other one, I'm not sure of this.
Okay.
The color is also nice.
Totally different on the nose. It's a wine which is made with Cabernet, so it has to be weighted. Now it has evolved. It's rather nice. It's aromas from Cabernet that you have this aroma of evolution.
And the second grade is
And there's a lot of good wines. Cabernet, Shiraz, Cabernet.
Cabernet Syrah, yeah.
Yeah.
60 Syrah, 40
Men
Cabernet.
vad sanningen
Mix, isn't it?
It's a nice one. And you see, we're going to taste the vintage of 5 now with Miraval. It will be the last bottle of our tasting, and see how it evolves. I'm going to serve you a little bit of cheese, a flower of cheese,
Get the
please.
I have never seen that.
You should come more often. Yeah.
Se den.
Beiderseite.
Oh, that's lovely. Beautiful.
Please, can I give you some
Oh,
flowers?
thank you.
Skikkelig.
Ja.
Romantic.
Ta vel noen kommer ost.
Så kjenner dere.
Oh, God.
Oh, beautiful.
Please. I'm not supposed to offer flowers to men, but
You're the special one.
I'm passing it on to
What sort of cheese is this one?
it's called a tête de moine, head of monk.
Ja, det er derfor jeg satte den på one shot.
Jeg må få den osten jeg sitter på her.
Ja, bare ligger den og satt på den. Ja, bare put it on the table.
Fantastic.
Have you had a flower?
And
Not yet.
den osten er ganske
Ja, er det sånn vellager?
Ja. Sånn er ren ost.
Super.
Mm.
Merci.
Du ligger nok der, du.
I think I need some wine.
Oh, you went out of the jail? How did you dare drink
Ikke
that?
alt.
You're out from the cage.
No, I do have that.
You need.
Hæ?
I need some, yeah.
If you need, that's okay.
Give Didier. That is very nice. Didier.
Samme vin.
This red is very nice.
Lager.
Yes, of course.
Så jeg prøver å
I
få i
always
stand.
say nice red.
Som ikke går.
These are the last bottle I could have. All the ancient vintage from the domain directly. I had the last ones.
Oh, really?
From and the best I have is 01.
And
Is
it's
even
beautiful.
so
That
lovely.
is beautiful. Didier, what would you have some to sell tonight?
Yes, I think I still have. I must have 12 or 18 bottles left.
And
of
may
this.
I, and Didier, are these sold? These cheese,
Yes,
are they sold in the shops?
yes. I find them at Leclerc. It's one of the places where I find. It's called tête de moine. It means monk hair.
Monk head.
Tête de moine. It's in aluminium,
Ah, yeah.
and you have to cut it. You have to have this, so that you can make this.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know where that is?
Vin blir det.
That's really good, eh?
It's a Swiss
Jeg
cheese.
synes ikke du kan lagre den lenge. Så er det usikker på å... Jeg eneste er jo kanskje rødvin, men de har ikke så mange igjen, og det er 2005.
It's very beautiful when you make salads. You put
Det er
that.
kjøpt
Yeah,
av.
that's
There's so many nice French cheese, you know, it's,
Oh, thank you.
Oh, no,
Ja,
you,
det er
Thank you.
sånn. Det er sånn av oss her, så vi drikker.
oh yeah,
Go with the
or
cheese.
5.
Yes.
That is beautiful. Thank you.
Except you.
No.
Yes, I know you want. Don't be shy.
You're going west then, you don't know.
Osten eller vinen.
begge deler.
Ja, jeg tror tiden.
Trying out.
Dyr eller vin. 30 for 5 gram.
30 for 5. Jeg liker det.
Any more cheese?
Oh, thank you. I'm fine for the wine.
It's perfectly mature. It's a wine to be drank now. No need to be salad anymore. It can just go down. But perhaps in 1 or 2 years it will be the same. But there's no reason to keep it anymore. You have to drink it. It's perfect now.
And they try to stay with the ratio of the grapes in the same ratio.
Absolutely the same.
Really?
60% Syrah, 40% Cabernet.
It doesn't matter what kind of sweetness or what kind of sugar is in it, to mix it a little bit to have the same kind of combination or
No,
alcohol.
we can't do that, my friend. We're first to take what nature gives and never improve it. You can't have
Can I also
sugar.
taste a little bit more? Sorry. Yes.
They are in jail, not you.
Yeah. Maybe a little bit more.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad you like it.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. The combination was amazing. Yeah, it's like
I'm sorry?
Because one time I was invited for the
yes, that will be.
The 08 playback is very nice. You can store it for 2-3 years or maybe, but it has already reached 80% of its peak. The 05 is definitely to drink. Don't need to store it anymore.
Is that
And the
safe?
13,
It's
I would not bet on serving. It would be nice in 10 years, but I don't think it would be better than it is now. It will take some time, but not
okay,
better.
And will that be
Just
your
make
phone
the
number
drink,
as
right?
well?
You can almost taste
It says, okay, the saying was, okay, maybe they're here,
I think so.
and I
There's a
have
lot of
left.
material.
When you go outside,
You
it
taste
Yeah.
it. It's
Yeah.
around that it's very nice.
Yeah.
And it's a
But the
little
English
hot,
should
but
be
if it
fine.
were, if the temperature was colder, you would feel a little more tension in it.
Olivia.
Olivia.
Very evening. Very evening.
Limona is like
Yes, and Olivia is English.